Hello there fellow NPCs, I am Carbon Scythe and today we're getting back into Seeds of Chaos. And in the last episode we had a lot of fun, but we also denied ourselves. We could have had Orc Alexia, Bootleg Alexia, but we said no, this is inhumane, this is sort of disgusting. What the hell are you doing, Nassim? And things like that. I did take a look afterwards at what things would happen, and you will see that on SpicyGaming.net later. And if you do the gentle thing, if you will, it kind of seems like he's developing feelings, not necessarily romantic, but some sort of emotion towards this orc. And he does say, I need to get her out of here. So that's interesting. Even when you are being depraved, you can still choose to do the good things. Because this game does have a corruption mechanic. That the more bad stuff you do, the more likely you are to do bad stuff in the future, sort of thing. So yeah, we'll see how all that goes. For now, let's talk to Cleona and then head out again. Let's go! Because Cleona is the only one left. Yeah, let's check. I have to choose a new... No, his story of Rosaria is ongoing with 0% right now. So show event, Cleona's domination. Yeah, she is about to get rough with us this time around. Staring at his naked body in the mirror, he ran his hands across his chest. The wound from Cleona's lightning healed without a trace, but he could still recall the searing pain it brought. It's been some time since their experiment together. Cleona kept her word, keeping things professional. So had he, but the matter lay unresolved between them. He couldn't leave it that way. For all her faults, it didn't seem like Cleona had any ambition for world domination. He needed her support if he was ever to strike back at them. Inform Cleona I will be seeing her this evening, after the sun sets, to discuss the result of her experiments. A castle maid bowed her head and hurried away. It had given Cleona enough time to ponder. It was high time he moved into offense himself. That being said, he soon regretted having Cleona wait for him. The reminder of the day dragged on, reports and various complaints all coming to him as if through a fog. He felt the blood rush in his veins, his senses sharpened, his mind tuning out all it deemed pointless and unnecessary. His body readied itself for battle. That's what his meeting with Cleona turned into. Endless struggles for supremacy. She felt it too. He saw it in the way her whole body tensed as he walked into the library. In the guarded look in her eyes, for a moment, he thought she'd greet him with another lightning bolt. Okay, yeah, I know they are not happy with each other, but this sort of tension usually means something else. It could end up being a sweet moment, or passionate, angry sex, at the very least. We'll see how it goes. Instead, she turned her gaze away, closing the ancient book she held in her hands. Rowan, on time as always. Please, have a seat. He held back a cutting remark. He couldn't lose sight of his goal. He had to mend the relationship, not reignite their conflict without reason. He took a seat in front of her desk, as did Cleona behind it. I see you've sent you've sent away your students. Should I be worried? She kept her expression neutral, indifferent, subdued even. No, your concern is not unwarranted, but I assure you, Rowan, regardless of what happened before, you are at no risk here. Before, I have allowed my emotions to get the better of me. I broke the terms of our agreement, of our arrangement, harming you and damaging the trust between us. For that, you have my sincerest apologies. I am willing to talk compensation, in terms of magical items, additional allocated research, or favors. She put her hands together, watching him closely, a motion she served only to accent the considerable gaps in her clothing. But at the moment, he paid them no mind. He was at a loss of words. Just like that? An apology and a compensation? Delivered to him on a gold plate? Was this a trap? An elaborate scheme? to lower his guard, yes, it would be easier to attack his mind. And what are your research? What did you discover? He asked to buy himself time to think, and he saw her hand tremble. A moment of silence went past before she slid a stack of papers to him. The experiment proved to be a resounding failure. You, Rowan Blackwell, are a perfectly normal human being. You possess no magical abilities, no affinity for the craft, no innate power, nothing. You have no magical protection on you, no magical items, no hidden runes that activate if sufficient magical pressure is detected. You have no non-humanoid ancestry and no humanoid non-human ancestry. What the fuck? There is another drop of dragon, demon, celestial or fey blood in you that could manifest as a latent defensive powers. Neither do you share a subterranean ancestor with Skordred despite displaying common dwarven traits such as their famed stubbornness. There is neither holy nor unholy protection on you, at least none I could detect, which rules out most gods. As far as I'm concerned, you are the perfect sample of a regular, incredibly magically inept, if unexpectedly resilient, but still, normal human being. He could not miss the strained tone of her voice. He shifted through the files as she spoke, and while he could make no sense of the esoteric magical lingo they were written in, he could see what their experiments did to her. Does the answer satisfy you, Rowan? What started as a factual record of her tests soon turned to something else. Neatly written, straight lines gave way to hectic, chaotic notes, written down in haste, scribbled on the sides and corners of every page. Ancient prophecy involved? Rakshan, Prothean, Dragon, Elven, Dwarven, Goblin, none of these? Other? Involved, not resolved. Oh, those are her notes, right. And nothing. Driven by fear, hero complex, raw determination, sexual desire to dominate? Brutish simplicity? Uncalled for, I acknowledge that. As you have no doubt noticed, I allowed myself to become more invested in the project than it was healthy. And I recognize because of that my actions have put us at odds with one another, when we should not be. There was an almost unnoticeable pause that followed, and she knew the words that followed were both carefully picked and practiced many, many times. Rowan, I acknowledge your skills and contribution to Castle Bloodmean. There is no reason for us to be enemies, not when we have so much to gain by being allies. Again, I apologize for what has happened, and to make it up to you, I offer not only my vast magical expertise, but also the influence I can exert over the twins. Within reason, of course. Her eyes briefly went to the amulet at his neck. Not that he held any hopes in that regard. Things were never that easy. And in return, I ask only that you hold no ill will for my previous outbursts, and review my future projects based on their merits and not personal feelings. Does this sound acceptable, Rowan? That was as much of an apology as he could honestly hope for here. He suspected it took every inch of her self-control not to sound exasperated. She kept his gaze, careful not to look at the notes he still held in his hands. Somehow, he had the feeling it was only her integrity as a researcher that didn't allow her to burn this shameful proof of her defeat. He still felt the blood rush in his veins. He expected to fight her, and here she was, offering him all he could ask for, if not more. Yet somehow, this victory felt hollow to him. Did she really learn a lesson? How can he know it's not a trap? What if her offer didn't satisfy him? Okay. That's unnecessary. I don't like that answer. It doesn't make any sense. Sort of. That's just for being a simple, brutish simpleton. Maybe, yeah. And that's also brutish simpleton. So I'm gonna go with this. Let's assume I'm satisfied with this. How do I know this isn't just a trick to lower my guard? How do I know you won't whack me in the back of my head with the magical equivalent of a sledgehammer the moment an opportunity arises? Because I like to look my enemies in the eyes when I break them. He expected her to continue. She didn't. She simply continued to watch him with those grey ancient eyes of hers. If he thought her cowed before, he didn't now. He knew the sorceress was old, but how old exactly? How many mages did she break with her mind control? How many warriors did she reduce to dust with her lightning? Who was he to challenge her, who stood on a pile of bodies built of centuries? He looked down and turned another page of her research. Secret Prothean mage-slaying training? I never even heard of anything like that, Cleona. I theorize it exists. Arcane magic surpasses divine gifts, and the Prothean Church has long proved it tolerates no competition. But that's a discussion for another time. He nodded his head slowly. He didn't mention the comment underneath, likely, twice underscored. Huh. How many dark warlords had he slain? How many dark warlords had he slain leading the armies of Rosaria, and then with Daenerys and the heroes of the Six Realms by his side? Cleona wasn't the only person in this room standing atop a mountain of bodies. And yet, she still looked down on him. Did you really learn a lesson? Really? Ah, come on! I can't, I have to choose this? Cleona, outburst is a very light term for sending me across the room with a lightning bolt, right at one of your chairs. The destruction of which, I feel inclined to mention, was noted in the monthly damage report. Do you want to know what Skordred wrote as the direct cause of damage? He narrowed his eyes, not trying to hide the displeasure from his voice. Cleona withstood him with his withering look, seemingly unrepentant, though she did close her eyes for a moment to gather herself, before answering. I believe we've learned the dangers associated with reckless pursuit of knowledge, which seems to be a recurring theme among practitioners of the arcane. For once, I will choose to remain ignorant. Very amusing. How do I know this won't happen again? That I won't find myself be the direct cause of the library renovation? If you doubt my character, then trust my self-interest. I assure you, indulging the twins' various requests is tiring enough. I don't need another person to appease constantly, simply because I allow myself to be caught in the moment. A one-time outburst entails a one-time compensation. After that, we shall return to business as usual. Business as usual. So her treating her with politeness that bordered on condescension. No, condescension. The thought made his blood boil. Ah! Just checking here. Yeah, it just continues, so I have to do that. He kept turning the notes in his head, page upon page of frustration, struggle, and ultimately defeat. An experience that ought to humble her, at least a little. And yet here she was, trying to sell him a bunch of garbage favors just to get him out of her sight. It made his skin itch. One could think there would be some reward for beating you in a contest of wills. She rolled her eyes at him, actually rolled her eyes, impudent witch. This was no contest, Rowan, but an experiment. We were not in it for entertainment, but to further the cause of magic. And you didn't beat me. Excuse me? You persisted in a series of tests, with predetermined boundaries in which we tested the extent of your mental resilience. That is all you did. Which, as I have confessed, is nevertheless admirable in itself, hence the offered compensation. Which again I am more than willing to discuss as soon as you stop playing on my nerves. The last word was almost a hiss. She didn't accept her defeat, didn't acknowledge her faults, not in full. And both gnawed at her. He saw that. He saw the crack in her armor, a weakness for him to exploit. Strike it! Don't! Cleona is not your enemy. Accept the terms and return to status quo. Yeah, so... I don't like being the broody simpleton, as I mentioned. So... just accept the status quo, I guess. She's a babe, total babe, but I'm not sure if making her angry with us is gonna be a good thing. His hand trembled and the notes in his hand rustled softly. Tangible proof of what chasing victory could do to someone. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He was letting his pride talk. He knew that. He couldn't make the same mistake Cleona did. You're right. I'll let my frustration get the better of me. He laid the notes down. Cleona eyed them like one would eye a venomous viper, and slowly took them away. I would offer a snide remark were I not sharing the sentiment. A recurring theme as well, this time between us. He chuckled, and he saw Cleona answer with a shadow of a smile. Right, this was better. Smarter. State your demands, Rowan, and I will accommodate them to the best of my ability. More research, favor with Ysera, favor with Andras. Magic equipment for the orcs, decide later. Oh! Interesting, what the hell is a favor? Magic equipment for the orcs, nah, that's boring. Just more research, more research. An apt demand, given that I had taken your own time for this catastrophe. Consider it done. Anything else? I can choose more. How much can we do here? She has been pestering me for information on the sea naga. Very well, I shall provide it to her. Ow! You are doing a favor to her. We're not asking for a favor from you, Sarah. Okay. And explain it was your arguments that convinced me it wasn't something worth pursuing. Why does Ysera need information on the sea nagas? I imagine for the same reason she needed data on any of the dozen minor racial groups she asked me about in the past. Whatever it is, anybody's guess. Ysera, as always, tries to be enticingly mysterious, which is one of the primary reasons why she's so obnoxious to work with. And that, I believe, is a suitable compensation for your troubles. I suppose. I've gone through harsher trials for less. And more awaits on the horizon. If it's any consolation, I expect our working relations to be less turbulent from now on. Back to business as usual. Which is a strange thing to say about conquering the world. She flashed him a small smile, and for a moment he wondered about what could have been. I am so confused. As I said in previously, what did I say? I don't know what I said, but it feels like we are finding glimmers of hope throughout the evil things that goes on here. That's basically what's going on here. What could have happened between me and Cleona had I gone through with it? Had I striked at her pride? Huh. Then he bid her farewell and turned his mind to the thousand things that always needed his attention. Huh. Nothing new here. Confusing. And I can explore up here to the northwest and a bit to the northeast as well. So I guess we'll go up there. I was stupid to go over here, so let's not do that mistake again. Oh, there are two villages over here to the east. But we don't do that, we are going through the ancient chest first. Fortune smiled on Rowan this day as he stumbled on an ancient chest half buried in the ground. He'd often wondered why he'd sometimes had the good luck to find these old goodies. Normal people didn't seem to ever tell stories of old chests of treasures lying around. Come to think of it, the other heroes were the only ones who'd ever mentioned this kind of thing happening to them. Perhaps they were aware that Solans had blessed their champions. Maybe there were some other powers' way of helping him. Rowan could only speculate. The only answer he would get this day was what was inside the chest. Gold, though a modest amount of it. Rowan pocketed it and continued on his way. I think that was plus 28. What was over here? Doesn't say, just hills. Oh, that looks like a double orc tribe or something like that. Orchid conduction? And I got 100 XP. Whoa! Hidden amongst the trees and rocks overlooking one of the many smaller valleys that branched off of the main Rosarian Valley, Rowan had discovered what appeared to be a massive orcish warband. He watched as a few thousand orc soldiers milled about crude tents and campfires. This obviously wasn't a village or settlement, but they didn't seem to be doing much right now either. A report to Bloodmead needed to be sent immediately. While he waited, he realized that there seemed to be a divide amongst the orcs. What had first seemed to be one camp was actually two, with an obvious gap between them. Fights occasionally broke out along the boundary lines, and the man could see at least 2 corpses remaining from previous skirmishes. Well now, that's not a common sight. Glad you could join me, master. The man who Rowan had been waiting for joined him in his hiding place and observed the large camp below. This army that they had discovered would be of great value to Bloodmead, but the sheer size of it meant it would be much more difficult than smaller tribes to bring into the fold. However, a great army was exactly what the twins wanted Rowan to find, and he had found it. Andra certainly had a glint of it in his eyes that indicated he was quite pleased by this discovery as well. It would seem that you have found an alternative to the goblins. Excellent. Orcs are far stronger and more brutal than those small weaklings. He looked down on the camp for a moment before continuing. I can see why you didn't want me to make a grand entrance. What is your plan, servant? I figure that the first step should be to meet with their leaders, find out why they're here and go from there. Rowan hesitated a moment, considering his words. I would have done that myself ahead of time, but being a human means that it wouldn't be safe for me to go in on my own. The half-demon looked over the valley with a thoughtful look on his face before answering. I'll forgive you for using me as diplomatic shield, if you can get me a new orcish army. The man fingered his amulet as he answered. Yes, master. Huh. It was evident, even as they made their approach to the camp, that discipline was a long game, if it had ever been there at all. The pair didn't see any scouting patrols, or even guards at the edge of the camp. And what few guards remained seemed to be more focused on glaring at their fellow tribesmen, rather than watching for outside threats. So it was no surprise when Andras simply waltzed into the camp as if it already belonged to him. A few orcs raced to stop him, but all of them quickly lost their bravado when the half-demon smiled invitingly at them. Try me if you have the balls. None did. Oh! She kind of looks like one of the characters, one of the main characters, from Pathfinder 2e. I might have to, maybe it's just the white eyes. Could be that. Rowan wondered who would be the first to approach them, and soon he had his answer. Quarter of an hour later, a small group of female orcs caught up with Rowan and Andras from behind them, and their leader addressed the demon. Also, her tits are not by any means as big as bootleg Alexia. Bosh demon, what brings you to orc camp? Andras looked questionably towards Rowan, curious if he could speak or not. Let Andras decide how to continue. Speak on Andras' behalf. Claim to be seeking out soldiers for a new army. Speak on Andras' behalf. Claim to be looking for the leader of this band. Speak on Andras' behalf. Say you intend to discover where the band came from. It's not... I blah blah. I wanna take agency away from Andras, so we'll see how this goes. I don't like him. You're not supposed to like him, but still. My master has come to speak with the leader of this band. Unless you command this force, it would be in your best interest to tell us where we might find them.
It's two chiefs. Fight over a pretty girl. Very bad business. Should talk to me before you meet with them.
Oh? Will this be something that you can't tell us here? She waved to her companions to form up around the two. Andras looked at them with a mix of amusement and annoyance in his face.
Can promise good talk, boss demon.
Can promise good talk, boss demon. Okay. The orcish woman waved the two to follow her, and set off towards another part of the camp. The half-demon turned to his companion with a quizzical look on his face. Rowan only shrugged. The orc woman hadn't given him anything to go off, and he doubted that she could cause them much trouble, so there wasn't anything wrong with following her. Andras came to that decision and started following the orc woman. Rowan trotted after him obediently. Okay. So where are we going? Evidently, this woman held a fairly high standing in the orcish hierarchy. She had her own, though much smaller than the other two, camp that Rowan had missed before now. She led them back here and was now sitting with them in private, with a well-cooked pig roast between them. While Rowan was hesitant to partake in orcish cuisine, Andras had no such problem and was devouring much of the roast whole. He had more decorum than the orc woman did, but she only ate the meat. Ow! And he's eating the bones and intestines and all that. Well, I think you'd be best be telling us why you wanted to meet with us here.
Yes, that was rather presumptuous of you to insist we follow you. What does an orcish woman of some standing, but no true leadership, want with a ruler of blood mean?
She picked over at her tusk for a moment before answering. Right away, Rowan noticed a tick. If it wasn't mistaken, it looked like she was nervous. A tick. No, the tick. So I thought she had a tick on her face, but no, she had a nervous tick.
I'm Tarish, warrior of Orkro Horde. This be what's left of Orkro's horde after war.
She spread her arms wide, referring to the camp that was outside.
We run from Pinks north who ride beasts and cover themselves with heavy armor.
Okay, so they were fighting against knights. Prothea's legions. Andras nodded.
A moon ago, warrior Battery comes back from raid with really pretty pink girl in nice dress. Orkro took her, made Battery mad. He challenged for rule but Orkro won't fight him. Camp split in two. Now we sit here waiting for North Pinks to come and kill us. All over a woman. Boy's dumb. Thinking with cocks. If both gone, I'll become chief of the horde by making pretty girl horde slut like pink girls ought to be. Get me girls close to Battery and Orkro. Get me that pink girl, and we make him kill each other. Then we raid again and we do boss demon's job.
Okay. Sacrifice a human, I guess. An hour later. He spent some time trying to pry information out of the orcish woman, to little success. Now Andras paced the center of the camp, his golden gaze eyeing the many orcs that observed them from the sidelines.
Even the orcish women are schemers. What do you make of this?
I'm curious as to why he is relying so much on me for this. Well, I recall the name of the warlord Ulcro. I fought against his raiding parties back in the war. He was one of the few orc generals I can call competent, and the fact he's still alive so many years later speaks volumes of his abilities.
So you say. And the other one?
Batri. Tarish mentioned he's known for his martial prowess. If there's any truth to what she says, between the two he's likely the brash one. Young, ambitious, and full of dreams of glory. Your type, I'm sure.
Power belongs to those willing to seize it.
So they say. But that fits Tarish as well.
Bah! Deceptions. Betrayals and bribes are no substitute for strength.
For once we agree. She doesn't exactly strike me as leader material. Then again, it's not often that I see an orc willing to think outside the box, and such an underhanded approach may be exactly what we'll need to rely on in the future. And a weak leader could be susceptible to being pressured, but he didn't say that out loud. Maybe there was something to be gained here for himself, and it's not like Andras needed encouragement to throw his weight around. Okay. Most of the time. My lord? For once, Andras didn't run off to beat up the orc leader and force him into submission. Instead, the man kept pacing the camp, still glaring at the surrounding orcs, obviously in a sour mood. The camp's population outnumbered all the lesser settlements they recruited thus far, even when added together. Was he worried about the influence they would have on their own forces?
Resolve this, servant. Recruit whoever you deem worthy of joining our forces, but think twice about helping either Ulcro or Tarish.
It will be done, master.
I'll go find the biggest orc they have and punch his head off, just so they know who they're dealing with.
He opened his mouth to protest, but Andras was already on his merry way. Rowan looked at the camp again. Talking to either of the two leaders would probably be a good way to start. Explore the camp, visit the orc chieftains, leave the orc ward camp. I am very split on this. I want to explore, but it did say talk to the chieftains first was a good start. Visit Tarish, powerful orc woman. Visit Batri, rival of war chief. Visit the war chief Ulcro. Return to main menu. Yeah, so Batri was the only one Andras wasn't warning us about. So Batri is Andras' choice, and Tarish is our choice, because we could work her, if I understood that correctly. A powerful orc woman. Also, that is always a good start. A powerful orc woman.
Demons pink.
Tarish.
We need that pretty pink lady before I can become the chief. Find her, make her think you're a friend, then bring her here. Do all this, then I serve your master.
Okay. Visit the war chief Ulcro. Ow! Oh, okay. It's events in events, okay. Rowan set off towards the center of the main camp, at which there was a small hill that Ulcro had set up in his tent. Surrounded by those belonging to his lieutenants. As the hero got closer, he noticed that the orcs around him were getting older and more scarred. These soldiers were clearly veterans of the previous war. Many of them still wore Bloodmean issued armor with Karna's sigil upon it. They also cared greatly for their equipment, actively cleaning and maintaining them. Even saw one who was sharpening axes and swords on a grindstone. At the base of the commander's hill sat a carved wooden altar dedicated to Karos. None were currently praying at the altar, but Rowan spotted an offering had been placed there recently. A rather grisly trophy he decided not to examine too closely.
Human, we hear from Tarish you become errand boy. Say where you're here at Warchief's tent.
Oh, yes, good. We were successful at something. The one who I'm serve is the son of Karnas and has taken possession of Bloodmean Castle. I'm gathering the armies that continue to fight in the name of the many-faced god to join together. Ulcro is needed once again. Wait. Did I actually already choose a side by doing this? That's not what I wanted. I wanted to talk to them. The orc eyed Rowan suspiciously for several moments, then spoke again.
Don't follow me.
Hoi, oi, oi! After giving a moment for his eyes to adjust to the darkness at the tent, the leader of this horde of orcs came into vision. Sitting on a throne of sorts was an older orc, covered in scars and missing an eye. Oh. He was slouched down, but watched the new arrival with great intensity. Rowan could tell at once that this was a veteran of many battles, like himself. Even though Ulcro was maintaining every appearance of being calm and uninterested, the human could see how tense his muscles were, how he was holding his axe in such a way that it could be brought to bear in an instant, if necessary. I bring you greetings from Bloodmean, great warlord Ulcro.
Rowan, tell me, what's a great hero of humans doing as a demon's messenger?
So the war chief knew who Rowan was. Given his age and rank, it should have been more surprising if he hadn't. The hero admonished himself silently, then changed plans. Someone important to me was taken away. We humans can be a bit sentimental. To Rowan's surprise, the orc actually chuckled and seemed to relax.
A year ago I wouldn't have understood. Now I do. My heart has been stolen by a woman I cannot please. Rowan, help me reach my beloved's heart like she has taken mine, and I will gladly serve your master.
Oh. This was the third time that the orc's words had surprised Rowan, and this time he wasn't able to keep it from showing on his face.
Do not be surprised. Orcs can love too. My lovely lady lost her home, and now I want to give her a new one.
The human woman that Bathory's raiders found. The chief spat on the ground.
That bastard almost did unspeakable things to my love. She is no mere woman. She is of noble blood. Though this is also part of my troubles with her, it is trouble I intend to overcome for her sake.
Huh. Can I talk to her? Is she in your tent?
No. She isn't here, or in any of my commander's tent. She is hidden away somewhere safe. It isn't your place to see her.
Well then, can you at least tell me what exactly is the problem?
Ulcro waved his arms around the room. This. An orc camp isn't place for a noblewoman. She doesn't have proper bed. She doesn't have proper beds, proper clothes, or proper food. I want to convince her I can give her just as good a life as she had back in her family's home. I don't care if you steal, buy, or even make those treasures for her. Just bring them to me. If you need a raiding party, I will provide you one. But I refuse to let this army go anywhere until my love accepts me. Then, and only then, will your master get his soldiers.
I understand. It was an honor to meet you, War Chief. Ulcro merely gave a dismissive wave, done with the hero for the time being. Very interesting. Now, let's talk to Bathory. Rowan walked through the camp and crossed into Bathory's side. He could tell right away that the orcs living in this area were, for the most part, younger than the others, with fewer scars and lower quality gear. However, their equipment tended to be newer or more recently acquired. Most of them were failing to care for their weapons or armor properly, and he saw many pieces covered in rust. But these younger orcs were actively raiding, unlike the slightly larger camp on Ulcro. Okay. So they don't know how to maintain a strong force, basically.
Hey, what are you doing here, Humi?
Oh, right, there are two different kinds of orcs. I see that now. I'm here to speak with Bathory.
Why would Bathory want to talk to demon cocksucking Humi?
You did not see that, I hope. You shouldn't have seen that. Hey! Bathory is skilled. Bathory's boys raid many shiny, strong weapons. My boss likes orcs that fight well and wants to give you lots of enemies to fight, treasures to earn, and slaves to fuck.
That sounds good.
We have an interest in seeing this little matter between Ulcro and Bathory resolved, so you have more time for raiding and can maybe join my master's armies.
Then you do have reason to talk to Bathory. This way.
He's a bit more joyous, but I think he's an unhinged dude. Rowan stepped inside the orc tent and saw Barter for the first time. The orc was big, very big. In fact, Rowan wouldn't be surprised if he was the tallest and strongest of the orcs in the entire camp. Barter looked over at the new arrival, then turned to face him fully to size up the human. Rowan did the same, observing how the orc moved with confidence and sometimes approaching grace. He was adorned in looted Rosarian plate armor that had been torn apart and strapped over his large form. Like most of his men, Barter wasn't in the habit of maintaining his equipment. However, the very fact that he was wearing those plates at all, and the way he carried himself spoke volumes about his fighting capability. There were some scars on his body, but fewer than most orcs at even his young age.
So, you be the demon's lapdog. My boy's been talking about you.
Yes, we're looking for true orcish warriors to join Bloodmean once again. The orc eyed him for a moment, then sat in a fancy chair that he had no doubt been looted from a noble's keep.
Well, now that I've been wronged by the false worship Orcro, by right any orc can challenge a worship for the right to rule. Orcro has refused every challenge after he took a booty that was mine.
Yes, I've heard about the human woman you acquired in a raid.
A hoarse laugh erupted from Battery's throat. Not just any human, beautiful noble human. Worship have a right to take spoils, but worship should know better than to take favorite loot. I can't join your boss demon unless Alcro fight me. I know how to get him. He obsessed with human now. He hides her and pampers her like noble instead of proper fuck toy. Help my boys get her back, then Orc will have to accept challenge.
I assume that's where I come in?
Yeah. You be good at finding stuff? Then find my booty. She not in Orcro's main tent, somewhere else in his camp. Look, find, come back.
Alright, good meeting you, great warrior Battery. Big young orc nodded and Rowan took his leave. I see, everybody need... interesting. Explore the camp. Are we gonna find it right away? Find Noble Woman's prison. Yeah, there we go. During Rowan's exploration of the orcish camp, he kept an eye out for where the captured noblewoman might be held captive. Damn! With no success, but every night spent on searching for her made him more familiar with the place. Eventually, he will succeed. Ah! The woods outside of camp. Did we get lost? Is that what you're telling me? The Rowan explored of the camp this time. Okay. He found a small forest just beyond the gate. A strange patch of green tranquility within earshot of the feasting and fighting of the orcs. He chose this opportunity to sit and rest. At the base of the tree he spotted a set of old bones. By now they were broken chunks that memorialized some long-dead orc warrior. A close examination of the tree itself revealed heavily faded pictograms. They had been carved into the wood so dissonantly in the past that he had become a whisper in the wood. They had become a whisper in the wood, easily missed by an untrained eye. The pictograms depicted an orc unusual size and strength, as representative by how he towered over the others, engaging in feats of strength, killing enemies, taking women, collecting treasures for his loot box. The final picture showed him bleeding surrounded by trees. No doubt much of it was false. It was a dying orc telling his own story, but what drew Rowan's eyes was that what he included in the final picture. The symbol for a hidden cache. Rowan dug up the ground next to the bones. His curiosity was rewarded. Beneath the bones lay a rotted box, and inside the remnants of the orc's treasure. Ooh, so we can give this to Ulrich or whatever. Ulcro. It wasn't the great sum the pictogram suggested, but what pieces hadn't been rusted could be resold at a profit. The real challenge of the day proved hiding this sum of treasure from the prying eyes of his orc hosts. I am very interested in seeing what happens to Ulcro. Repeat meetings with Ultra. No, I don't want to repeat it.
The lady is as angry as always. You take her more gifts, then we talk.
Very well. Okay. Leave the Horde camp. Leave Orc Horde camp. End of week 14. Huh. Damn. Luriel wants a protector. But I will cut off for today's episode here. We have just finished episode 14. We have visited a couple of orcs. And I think I'm not gonna... That's a tricky thing. Are we going to sacrifice a human to get the orc woman that we can manipulate? Or are we going to be nice to the better of the current orc leaders? That's what I'm getting... that's what I'm mixing up here. Those are my choices. And yeah, we could have had fun with Cleona, but I'm not sure if that was the better choice either. I think I messed up this entire episode, honestly. We'll see how it goes in the future. There's so much to do. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. And thank you, Josef, for donating directly to my Ko-fi page. If you guys want to help me out, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, just because you're not the main character doesn't mean you're not important. Goodbye, everyone.